Welcome back to Running with Coach Tori and Jeff. I almost forgot the name of the show because this is probably our first actual released episode. If you are new here, then we are from a previous podcast, Raising Runners, but we have a new show where we are going to talk running news. So if you need some entertainment for your long run, or if you're looking for things to discuss with your running group at your next group run, we've got you covered. So, before we get into the stories of the week, you're actually not home from Florida, but you are traveling back to the chilly, is this considered the Northeast, I guess, where we live?
Yeah, I would say Northeast, sure.
From sunny Florida, and I know you ran a little bit when you were down there. Are you planning to run a little bit now that you're coming back to the frigid weather?
I am. I'm gonna stick with my 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay.
I built up to sort of 4 miles because I really was at ground zero.
Yeah.
So I'm starting like most people are from ground zero. So I'm taking my time. It's a long game. So I've consistently done probably 2 or 3 weeks now where it's been 2 or 3 runs, anywhere from 3 to 4 miles each.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's getting better.
That's good.
How about you?
Well, if anybody knows my normal voice, you can tell that I'm sick. Again, I'm constantly complaining about being sick on the show, I think. So there's that. But yeah, and before that I was off running for a little bit because I had shingles, blah blah blah. So it's just a fun like roller coaster of like getting fit, getting unfit, getting fit, getting unfit. Because I feel like 4 weeks is kind of enough time that now you're like, oh, I've like actually lost some of the fitness that I had. So this morning, up at 5, got my 15 minutes in on the treadmill before James woke up and had to like do, other stuff. So, getting back to it, I'm really trying to commit to some strength training as well. And getting more on like a schedule. I feel like this year I had big plans of like, doing one tempo run a week, one speed run a week, in addition to like easy runs, long runs. And I definitely haven't done that. So that'll be the plan for my 2025 to really get that rolling. But yeah, nothing new and exciting really here with the
Yeah. I
running.
haven't even thought about it. Well, I have thought about it, but I haven't even started the mobility sort of physical therapy type, rehab type training that I need to do for my knee, and then two, weight training. You mentioned I haven't. Again, I've thought about it, but I'm going to probably start sprinkling that in a week or two. And
There
again,
you go.
I'll start out really slow.
That's good.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's a
already.
motivational issue. I mean, I think this is like what everyone struggles with, right? It's you get motivated and you start, but you got to get that 3 or 4 weeks in a row that before it becomes a good habit that you look forward to doing. If you
Oh,
ever look forward
totally.
to running.
Well, and that's like the biggest thing they say that's hard about running. And if you like ever online, you see all the like really cliche, graphics where it's like the hardest part of your run isn't the run, it's like getting out the door, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, actually that is the hardest part of most things, right? Is like actually getting into it. And then when you're doing it, you find lots of things that you can enjoy, but it definitely can take some time to really want to be out there hurting. Although, I mean, everyone talks about now, like the easy run is the thing of the decade, I think. So it's like, you're really not supposed to be getting out there and like hurting all the time when you're running. But finding that easy run is hard as well.
yeah, we've talked about that before, and I think many and probably most average runners go out and try to run like a consistent loop, and they do it as hard as they can, which is what I did for years. I ran like a 4 mile loop or somewhere in that range, and I just kept the time to say, am I doing it faster? And what I did learn at some point in time was that's not really the way to get faster. You really need to have 80% of your run should be sort of that slow pace, building up your cardio, and then 20% should be much more the speed type tempo. And if you break it up that way, you really get on race day, if you want to call it that, or time trial, whatever you want to do, when you want to go out and do that hard run, your results will be a lot better than just doing a consistent run every day at the same pace.
Oh, totally. And
Yeah.
I mean, and like talking about enjoying it, right? Like I can think of now when before I knew like anything about running besides just like you can do it, right? And I would do those kinds of runs, like go out on whatever same kind of path that I knew. And like every last, 300 meters, I'm like running as fast as I can because if I'm not out of breath, I'm like, it was just a waste of a workout, you know what I mean? And it's like, what am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, agreed. And then and that kind of effort you have to put in each time, it makes it more difficult to go out and do it the next time because you sort of know mentally, like, I got to be up for this. This is going to be hard.
Oh
And really,
yeah.
it shouldn't be hard. You should be able to go out and run, enjoy, see what's out there, enjoy the weather if it's nice weather. So anyway,
Yeah. No, there's nothing worse than trying to start your workout when you're sore from the day before. And like, I mean, to some extent that's unavoidable in certain aspects, but man, it is nice to be like actually feel like this was easy. Tomorrow's going to be easy. I'm going to get up and I'm going to feel fine. I'm going to go for a nice run. And that was one thing that like running with the stroller, as much as anyone that's ever listened to the podcast, I'm sure I complained a bunch about that as well. Um, like you have to go slow to some extent. And like that, I think really helped me embrace the slow, easy effort because I'm just, you can only go so fast when you're trying to use one arm, when you're pushing 50 pounds and trying to maneuver. You can't be going like, crazy fast. So that was definitely one thing that a positive of stroller running. Before I go on
if there is a positive from stroller running, I mean, again, it's nice to get out with your son and run and enjoy it. And I'm sure he enjoys. I don't know. He used to sleep probably most of the time, but
yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
I miss it now. He like really, it's not his thing anymore. And he's like also his head like hits the top of it. So we like almost never do it. Now, the last couple times we've done it was just for like a 5K race when, it's early and there's nothing else for him to be doing. So he comes along in the stroller and I'm like, hey, really don't fit in here anymore. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna have to say goodbye to stroller runs. So I'm trying to get him really into his bike. So I'm like, okay, I keep telling him like, once you get really good at the bike, like we can go on the trail and I'm gonna race you. And like, who knows when that'll actually be a reality, but
yeah, that would be fun. I mean, it'd be a lot easier for you. I do think pushing a stroller, the couple times I tried to help you, and it was like, wow, this is rough. I cannot do this very long.
yeah, no, it is an anomaly of no fun. And then you see those people who run the whatever we were talking about world records in our last, it's gonna be a vaulted episode no one's ever gonna hear. But the strange world records people go for in the stroller miles one where they run, I think it's like 5:15 or something for the stroller mile. And I'm like, that is just great. And you see the kids wearing like a helmet because it's like you crash that thing and they're going flying. You know what I mean? So they have to be like really, really protected in there. But like, man, that is a fast stroller push. But
You mentioned world records. That's one of my news articles today
oh,
is world records.
let's get into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So my article is around. There were 7 world records set in a 9-day period recently. So just to give you a sense of what they were, on February 8th, Grant Fisher set the 3,000-meter world record at 7:22. On that same day, Yared Nuguse set the men's indoor mile world record, 3:46. On February 13th, Jakob Ingebrigtsen broke both the Yared Nuguse's record that he had just set the week before for the indoor mile, and he also broke the indoor 1,500-meter record in that same race. So I guess they, since 1,500 meters is short, they have a measurement where it's timed, and you can break both world records in one race. On February 14th, Grant Fisher then also broke the 5,000-meter world record. On February 16th, the 20K race walk, if that's really, I guess it is considered certainly a
Don't you
world
dare
record.
say anything bad about those race walkers.
I do. I will get a lot of hate for that. So I want to retract that statement. And then the one that maybe I'm most impressed with is the men's half marathon. Jakob Kiplimo set the men's world record for that at 56:42. So over 3 minutes below a 1 hour half marathon. And I got to believe that that's certainly a key indication that the 2 hour marathon, official marathon record is going to fall this year.
Distance running is back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it really does seem like it is. So I got a couple questions for you on this, right? So one, do you, with all these world records that are being set, and it's not just these, it's also the women's marathon world records fallen twice in the last year, and it's come down rapidly. Do you think it's just the super shoes?
Well, I think there's
I hear a
definitely.
lot of complaints that it's super shoes are ruining the sport.
Uh-huh. I was just about to say that. I was like, I know we've even talked about some professional athletes who maybe are no longer racing professionally who've complained about um, the super shoes. And, you know, yeah, I guess I don't really have anything intelligent to say, honestly, about it. But I mean, okay, personally, from my experience, right? Like, I have run in super shoes as well. And, like, just like when people went from wearing, not spikes to spikes, right? Like, there is a difference, but I don't think that's the only difference because they've been around for a little while. And it wasn't like you put on the super shoes, everyone's immediately, crushing everything. So, I think super shoes are also just something that we can, an image of like the time that we're in, right? Like if you watched, did you ever end up watching Breaking 2?
I certainly, yeah, I've seen parts of it. I don't know if I saw it all straight through. This is obviously the Nike. Was it Nike? Was it
Nike,
AOS?
yeah.
Nike, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, yeah, shoes plus really understanding like human physiology, understanding fueling, having the ability to make different kinds of like really specific racing nutrition, um, all the different ways people have been training for years and like kind of really fine tuning what that looks like, training at altitude, water resistance running, just all kinds of different modalities that we just didn't understand. And people are adapting. Human genetics are probably adapting to some extent, right? So I think there's a lot of factors, but I do think the super shoes is something that's easy to point to because it's a visual representation of like all of the things that we've learned and the science, the technology that we have that is just making us more efficient, right? We found a more efficient shoe. We're training more efficiently. We're eating more efficiently. Our bodies are just working more efficiently, maybe. So that's kind of my thought. I definitely don't want to say it's just super shoes because I do think you take those shoes away from these people and they're still phenomenal athletes. They're still going to be running insanely fast. They're going to be still running similar times, I would imagine. 3 to 4%. I don't know. Now, these people, if any, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but you find out anybody's doping, I'm going to be crushed,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's just like, way to ruin it for everyone.
yeah.
um,
I mean, and I think there has to be people that are doping, but I don't think
oh, yeah.
that everyone's doping. I certainly am not one of those people that thinks that every of the top athletes are doping. Yes, there are anomalies where people are doping and they will get caught. So it does taint the sport a little bit. Um, but yeah, I certainly don't think that all the world records are being set because people are doping.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Um,
think the other thing about the training shoes, like I always thought it was like that, that 2 or 3% or 3 or 4% that you might get in the energy return on race day. But the other thing that you read a lot about is that the training now with you talk about the training techniques, it's the wear and tear on the body is much less if you're wearing a super shoe during the training method. So you can train harder, quicker recovery. So there are some other benefits that the super shoes are granting other than just race day efficiencies and return of energy.
For sure. And the mental side of it as well, right? Breaking the 4 minute mile, we used to think that would kill you or something. I
Yes.
don't even know if that's true or whatever, but no one thought it was possible until it was possible. And then, everyone's doing it within, a short span of time. So think it might be one of those things too where, we're not only are we seeing these times fall, it's making people believe it's more possible. It's giving a new carrot, a new end point. But also, I imagine a lot of these guys are training together, or if not training together, they train under similar, ways. And so they are elevating each other in that sense as well.
Yeah.
Those are just some other things that aren't just physiological.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the people who are saying that it is ruining the sport, I certainly disagree. And I think if you look to baseball as an example, there was like a home run derby thing going on with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, and they were both using steroids. So it's certainly, I'm not going to correlate it to that, but from the standpoint of that home run race, and it brought a lot of new eyes to the sport, and I think these world records will bring new eyes to track and field. So. I think it's saving the sport, not ruining the sport.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you want to see greatness, right? Like no one wants to just watch mediocrity. And to quote my husband, who loves to have a controversial take on things, like his reason for women's basketball specifically being such an underfunded, under everything sport, no one cares about women's basketball until recently, is because the talent pool is so low. Like no one's doing good stuff. And I don't know anything about basketball, so these are not my takes. Everybody cancel him instead of me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so yeah, he is going to get a lot of hate mail, and it's
He doesn't care. He will argue with anyone about women's basketball. But my point, to just skirt away from there, you want to see people in a sport for being talented at that sport. So if we just see people who are never able to achieve, if world records just stand forever, it's like, okay, that one person is amazing, but no one's going to care about anything else now. If it's not like, oh, they might be getting the next fastest time, right? If it's just like unachievable, it's like, all right, so I guess the past is where the greatness was. There's no future for running, no future for track and field. So
well,
yeah,
that brings me
I,
that
I
brings me
like to
to
see the, if it's every other day someone's beating that record, it's kind of like what's been going on. But yeah, I think
well
it's
that
kind of
brings me
fun.
to up to one of my questions for you. So that's perfect timing. Is one of the records that is one of the biggest records, I guess, of all time is El Garoui has the 25-year plus world record for the mile. So this is the outdoor mile, and I'll call it the overall mile because the indoor mile is slightly slower than the outdoor mile, just because of the track is smaller.
Right.
Um, so that's stood for 25 plus years right now. Um, is this the year it's going to fall?
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Men's
I don't know.
distance is
I'm not
crushing
convinced.
it.
I,
What's the time? Do you know?
I do know it's. I want to say it's 343 something like low 343s. In fact,
Okay.
Yard Naguse, who just did the indoor one I mentioned,
Yeah.
and Jakob Ingebrigtsen both were in the 343s, but the high 343s.
This was
Um,
indoor though, no?
no, this was outdoor. This was 2 years ago. They came close to breaking the world record
Oh, okay.
in 2013 or sorry 2023. So I do feel like these guys are close now, and obviously breaking the indoor gives you an indication that they may break the outdoor. I don't know. I don't know if this is the year or not that they both, if that will fall. So we'll see.
I'm gonna go with yes. It seems like just from that, span of however many days with all these records falling, I think these guys are up to the task. And if it's not one, it's going to be the other one. And maybe it's both, or someone else in that mix. Yeah, I mean, if you even think about the Olympics this past year, like the mile, I believe, was one of the craziest races there was. Am I misremembering maybe what was what?
Yeah, I think
Um,
no, you're not misremembering. It was an absolutely phenomenal race. It was the 1500 though. I think in the Olympics they don't
oh,
do
yeah,
the
yeah,
mile.
yeah.
Yeah, the mile, although it's a milestone we love and cherish, it's not run in every event. It's not run in every meet. So they do it sort of like sporadically at some of these specialty events.
Yeah, sorry, I just got a text asking about a certain Bluey character. Uh,
Shall
it's so weird. Um,
we jump to another story? It's up to you. Like, what do you want to throw one out there? I've got another one on my list.
Oh yeah, go for another one. I don't have any. I only have like one, two, maybe. None are good. Me and my
All
stories aren't
right,
that great.
I'll go to another one here. I'll go to one where there was a little bit of controversy, and I don't know if you saw this article or not, but in Hong Kong, so for the Hong Kong Marathon, the winner and the runner up were both disqualified for wearing the wrong number. There was also a 10K runner in the same sort of, I guess they do them simultaneously, but he was the runner up. He also got disqualified. There was woman, a man running using a woman's number um, as well. So there was a lot of controversy as to whether they were all disqualified. So and they were all from mainland China. So I guess the question I guess I had for you is, do you care about the I guess number swapping, cheating? I mean, it's hard to say you don't care. Like,
I was gonna say, can you guess my stance on that?
what's your position on that one?
So, as a rule follower, sorry, you broke the rules, dummies.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. By the way, just for the benefit of some of the context as to some of the controversy was, they all had the same agent. So what appears to have happened is the agent had collected all the numbers, and then when he gave them to the individual runners, he had confused the numbers. The runners weren't trying to, skirt the system. I guess the reason people might switch numbers is if you're trying to maybe improve your qualifying time for, like, say, Boston. If
right.
I wasn't going to be able to qualify for Boston, but my friend is a great runner, he wears my number, I get now a great qualifying time that I can use to get into Boston. So that's why
Well,
people would do it. This appeared to be inadvertent, and the guy was the winner and the second place runner. Is that worthy of disqualification, or is it can you look at the circumstances and say it's okay, it's okay this time?
I can't. Like I can't. That's very unfortunate though, and that seems sad. And I feel like that is kind of like a devastating, especially for like it's not like you guys were in last place, and it's like who cares. That's very unfortunate. Um, and I imagine there's so many people who would just be like, yeah, you can look past that because you can see exactly how that could have happened. Um, but also like I've seen whether they're joking articles or real articles, people talking about like, oh yeah, just lie about what age you are when you sign up for your race, and then you win the 80 to 89 age group, and it's like, how does you feel good about that? Cheating feels good to you, for
Well,
nothing. You
winning
feel like you
winning
won.
does feel good sometimes.
Yeah, it goes back to last week when we were talking about how everyone wants to be special, which they are.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that's just very unfortunate. But as a rule follower, you broke the rules. I don't know. If we're not following the rules, there's just chaos. I mean, because then it's like
yeah,
everyone's just like, oh well, I accidentally won the women's race and I'm not. It's just like, ugh, But yeah, I get that. That's probably. I imagine most people are gonna be like, let him stay. And I get that, but
yeah. I
you
think
gotta
they
have the
lost.
rules.
They lost some prize money because I think there was some prize money for the top in those age groups. And this was the overall race that I think they were the winners of. So it wasn't a
Yeah,
ton of money, but again, these guys, they do race for money, and it's unfortunate.
that
The part of
sucks.
the article was talking about, you know, you could be banned for life for
Okay,
some of
that
these
seems
things. That seems
excessive.
extreme.
And also, like, I mean, people come back after 4 years for like doping. How are you gonna get banned for life for switching your bibs by accident? But also, good lesson here. Even if you have an agent or your mom or your dad or your coach, like check your stuff. I think your name would be on your bib unless they have like the weirdest bibs ever at the Hong Kong Marathon or whatever it was. Like your name's on it.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's just a number, right? So if you don't know what your number is,
When was the last time you did a race that only had a number on it? They have your name, they have your age, they have your little beer ticket, they have everything on the numbers.
the beer ticket. Yeah, I think the marathons that you and I are doing with beer tickets are probably different than some of these other people's.
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
And yes, those are the
Here.
ones I enjoy the most, the ones that have a beer ticket at the end.
Here's your snack, your pretzel ticket, your beer ticket, your bag ticket, your name. So when we run by the water fountain super slow, everyone's like, "Go, Tori!"
Yeah, no, you are right. I mean, I was thinking of the actual, it's usually a number on the front, but you're right. There is like a sticker sometimes on the back that shows like the name and everything on the back. So you're right. There's some indication, and plus you usually have to show ID to pick up these things. And again, these guys are probably, I won't say world class athletes, but they're certainly top athletes. And
Yeah.
so if you have an agent and people doing things for you, I could see how this can happen.
No, totally. I get it, but
All right,
it
we're going to get
sucks.
into your world now. So my third one, this is my final one,
Okay.
is a little bit of the social media stuff. And I don't know whether you've seen any of this where Noah Lyles, and for anyone else's benefit,
Ugh, here
Noah
we
Lyles
go.
is the Olympic champion, 100 meter, and he's pretty flamboyant, outspoken. Um,
Annoying.
he's a look at me kind of athlete, attention grabbing, stealing athlete. And then Tariq Hill, who's a professional football player, wide receiver for the now Miami Dolphins, was Kansas City Chiefs. Um, he was, and maybe is the fastest athlete in the league. So he's challenged Noah Lyles to a race, and they've gone back and forth on social media. Um, have you seen any of that?
Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
I, I would love to see it. I would love to see a race. Now, the part of the debate is what would the race be? So I think, at 100 meters, Noah Lyles is the Olympic champion. It's hard to believe that Tariq Hill could compete with that. So Noah Lyles' position was it would be, you know, his quote was, I mean, if it's 100 meters, it would be a blowout. We got to meet in the middle. So he would recognize that, it's not going to be a 100-meter race. Maybe it's, you know, track it for football players is typically a 40-meter run is what they do at their combine. And that's what Tariq Hill's probably pushing for if they were to do it head to head. Um, what do you think?
About what distance they should run?
Yeah, distance or what the outcome might be.
Um, huh. Actually, we were recently talking about this at home too with my lovely controversial
I
husband.
was gonna say, yeah, the husband who hates women's sports.
Yeah, exactly. Who also hates Noah Lyles, who also hates Tyreek Hill. Um, but anyway, I do think meeting in the middle. I'm like actually shocked Noah Lyles even had the forethought of like it needs to be somewhat more fair, right? Like I just imagine being like, you got to meet me at my race and do the 100. So for him to even propose a meet in the middle is kind of surprising. And I think that makes sense because I like what is the 40? Like, only people in football are running a 40-meter dash. Like that's just
Yeah,
and like kids at healthy kids running series. But um, yeah, do a 60. That's like a real thing, or do a 70. That's like actually in the middle. Um, yeah, and I don't know what I think the outcome would be because actually I haven't seen. I'm not a Noah Lyles fan. I I find him very annoying, but I also feel like if I was a good athlete, I would be Noah Lyles. So like I can't even, I have nothing to say there. I
I will say he's entertaining. I mean, it's it's nice to have some of those people with that kind of a personality, right? Otherwise, would the sport be somewhat boring?
right. I
Um,
mean, it's annoying that he's like I'm, changing the sport of track and field, but it's like people want a person like there is no personalities or there's not a lot of personalities in track because for whatever reason. Um, so yeah, he's there. He's a character. He's always doing the whole thing, dropping his Yu-Gi-Oh cards by accident, warming up for his races. Like he's doing stuff, and it's interesting. And he is fast, and that's fun. Um, so I don't know what I think the outcome would be. I I would want him to win because I want no good things in the world for Tyreek Hill. So, um, you know, so yeah, I would love for him not to win. Um,
Yeah, I think it would be
Yeah.
bad. It would look bad for the track and field sport if Noah Lyles lost. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on you to sort of like you've got to win. You're either the world and Olympic champion.
Yeah. I mean, he wants it though, which is what makes me feel like because again, I haven't seen anything really. I know that Tyreek's 40 was like incredible or whatever, and that's the only reason he probably is in the NFL because he was uninvited basically from being a part of any of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I know he's fast. I haven't watched him run. I don't watch a lot of Noah Lyles stuff. But yeah, I mean, if he feels confident enough to be like writing on the back of his numbers, like I forget even what he wrote in his, one of the recent indoor meets. Somebody wrote something calling him out, basically. If he's feeling that confident, knowing full well how bad that would be for him to lose, I imagine he's pretty sure he's got it in the bag. Um,
Yeah, I think there's a difference between football fast and track and field fast.
for
Yeah,
sure. And like just, under like the consistency, right? Like he trains to be able to start out of the blocks well every time. He knows like what a drive phase is. I mean, this guy, who knows what consistency he has. He can run fast. Um, but are you going to be able to run fast at the gun, out of blocks every time? And I think he's done, hasn't he? Is he the guy who's done a couple like random open track meets and like blown, the amateurs out of the water? And it's like, obviously you're a professional athlete. Like,
yeah. I don't know if I certainly didn't see any of
I don't know if
those,
that's
but
him or not.
yeah. I mean, but he is a freak athlete. I mean, he is. If you just see the guy, if like his muscle tone and structure of like his arms, for example, the guy is jacked,
Oh,
unbelievable.
punchable for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about some guy's muscles, and it's going to start to sound weird. But it's just some other quotes from Noah Lyles posted. He posted that it's time to end the debate, and Hill's reply was, "Time to shut your mouth and take your lunch money."
If he wasn't an actual like alleged, I'm putting quotes everyone, alleged abuser, like that would be funny, but it's not
Yeah,
funny when you actually like hurt people. So,
yeah.
ugh.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I guess don't get me started.
Yeah, no. Again, he's had some. He had the running with the law last year as well when he got stopped. This is Tariq Hill, not Noah Lyles. Um,
Right.
and that was a little bit of a controversy too. So, yeah, there's certainly some controversy that seems to follow. These I won't say diva wide receivers. No, I will say diva wide receivers. I mean, there's been a few of them in the past many years um, that seem like they draw a lot of controversy. But I would like to see it. I'd love to see a sort of a race. I think again, it's good for the sport. It's good for the sport to get eyes on watching a race, and then maybe they'll tune in for another track and field race later on in the year.
For sure. I mean, yeah, make it fun. I think, other sports have like different kinds of fun elements outside of just like, people are enjoying their sport, but like all-star games and other kinds of things. It's like track and field's kind of always like an all-star meet because like everyone's there a lot of the time. So there's not really that exciting extra element. So yeah, have our fastest guys race fastest guys of something else. Like, sure, that's kind of fun. Get other people interested. Yeah. Um, I would watch it if he's confident. I don't want to have to. I already don't want to have to see Noah Lyles as the hero. I don't want to see him lose. Like, you know what I mean? That's just not a fun
Yeah,
thing to
it's
be
two
involved
guys you don't really want to root for. So
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
again, so I mean, I certainly would be probably rooting for Noah Lyles, even though I wasn't a huge fan of his in the Olympics. Again, as you mentioned, the Yu-Gi-Oh card and jumping up and down and look at me. But again, I got to respect what he does. A phenomenal athlete. So yeah, I would certainly be rooting for him in this particular case.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So what do you got? What do you got?
Oh,
What do you got news wise?
well, nothing news wise, but in my searches for an article yesterday, I came across just something funny. Nobody waves back to me on my runs. Am I the problem? Um, and I read some of this article. Basically, it seems like, somebody needs more attention than they're getting. And they used to live in a this is like just like one specific person's like,
Yep.
story article for like Runner's World. Talking about, living in South Carolina. People were so friendly. You move up to Pennsylvania. No one's friendly. Hi. Yes, we're not. I can speak to that. But yeah, like, the dog walkers aren't waving, the runners, the bikers, blah, 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 blah. People are busy, girl. Like, mind your business. But, yeah, so, she started making a game out of if people are going to wave back to her, which helped motivate her run. So you get a point if a runner or walker waves, 3 points if it's a cyclist. You get 10 points if someone's on a lake that you're going past that waves to you. So just to kind of keep it fun. I also have heard people talking about, they like count up how many dogs they see, and, that's like how they rate their run. Are you like a friendly runner?
I
Are you
am not
waving
a
to the
friendly runner.
passerbys?
I'm not a friendly runner at all. I occasionally will give it, a slight wave of respect, like for someone who's running and they're clearly looking at you and you're looking at them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, especially, I mean, as a guy too, I mean, I feel like women don't want to be waved to, or, that feels creepy. Like, oh, hey, hi, hey, you want to talk? Like, no, no, they just
Nope.
want to do their run. So yeah, I try not to do a lot of waving. I'm not a friendly guy, though I do like that point system. I do like the idea of having a game. Now, are you competing against just yourself, or are you competing against your friends? Like, how does that work?
I mean, I imagine this person does not have friends, hence why they're so worried
You are a
about
hater.
getting waved.
What about this
I know
woman?
I promise I'm not this negative. It's because I've been sick forever and I'm just grumpy. I have no serotonin left in my body. Um, but yeah, I imagine it's probably like a Strava thing, right? You probably are putting in your Strava notes, like got 10 points today from waving to strangers. Um, I could picture you being like a dog counter, counting how many creatures you see on your run.
I'm a big creature fan. Yeah, no, that I could do.
Yeah. Um, no, I currently, when James is at school, when I go for runs, because he's always wondering, like, what are you doing while I'm at school? So I've been taking pictures of all the animals that I pass. So I'm like, I'm now the kind of person who's counting how many creatures I'm seeing on my ventures, and it's always like, what did you see? I'm like, today I don't have anything because I'm not running today, so I'm like to go find some animals out in the wild while he's learning.
Now, does this include, like, if someone's walking their dog, are you sneaking the picture of the person's dog, or are you blatantly taking a picture of this woman's dog as you're running by?
So yeah, definitely not taking pictures of people with their dogs. It's usually like a wild animal, like
Oh,
the
okay.
vultures, the birds, a caterpillar. I do tell him when I see the dogs, but no, I've only one time asked someone if I could take a picture of their dog because they had like this giant Great Dane and it was like really pretty. But I'd like stop the lady. I was like, "Is it okay if I take a picture of your dog?" So I'm like, I don't want to be taking pictures of people out here, you know.
Okay,
Just
no, I was just sort of picturing you running and then randomly pulling your phone out, sneaking a picture of every animal you run by, and it's like, wow, I could see people getting creeped out by that.
we'll see what happens when it's spring and there's more people out because I've almost run into no people when I'm out running right now because it's just so cold. So it's usually just, the local wildlife that I'm coming across. And there's not been a lot lately because it's been so cold too. So it's like I'll get a footprint or like a stick and I'm like, oh, was that a raccoon? I don't know. I'll try in here. But no, I'm not a waiver either, unless it's in a race. I'm notoriously like the good job every time you pass someone in a smaller race. But as a woman, they tell you like, or even like self defense instructors will say like, be aware. So if you like look at people for whatever reason, that like sends a signal to them that you're paying attention. So I do try to make the effort to like look up anytime I'm passing someone when I'm running, and acknowledge them. But it's not usually a wave unless it's like if I'm running in a group. Sometimes we'll all like wave, but that's about it in terms of waving.
Yeah, I don't wave a lot. I do. I will say, if you're passing someone, which is not always the case, but if you're lucky enough to be passing people, I will try to give them a heads up, like, hey, coming on your right, coming on your left, just so they don't get startled, especially with people with dogs.
Oh yeah.
That's a normal thing. Like, hey, I just didn't want to start. And I always say like, hey, I just didn't want to start you as I was running by,
For
as,
sure.
as I'm running by.
Right. Hi, I'm sneaking up on you to tell you I'm sneaking up on you. Be scared. I know. It's like, what do you do here?
Yeah, especially
Um,
with women. Again, it always feels creepy when you're a guy out running that you're running up behind some woman. It's like, man, like I will try to either go pretty far outside so you're not running that close to them. Again, I just feel like people are going to be self conscious or you know fearful that they're being going to be attacked of somehow. Not that I look like an attacker, by the way.
no, for sure. But I mean, that is like a big thing. And I feel like, again, social media, there, because I'm on like running social media, right? You do see like the joke videos people do of like, as a man, how I let women know I'm not a threat when I'm running past them. And they like, you go through all the different weird like things they'll say or whatever to like be like, hey, I'm safe, whatever. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a real thing, right?
because
But
a
even
creep when you say
I,
I'm a creep.
yeah. But even like when I feel like I encounter lots of like elderly people walking or whatever, or just say anyone, I'm like, you also don't know who I am. I'm like the least intimidating person you'll come across, right? But when all you hear is my footsteps fast approaching behind you, like,
Yep.
again, it could be anything and it could be scary. So definitely something to think about. And then my
And
last one is just, and for some reason now it's like telling me I need to pay for this article, but it was Hong Kong's hottest new social scene. Guess what it is? Running clubs. Like, and they just go into this whole thing about how running clubs are the new thing. If you want to make friends, you want to meet new whoever's, and then they had a list of a bunch of different kinds of running clubs. And we've talked about running clubs, I feel like, extensively. And you are not a run club person. I've never ever run with a run club. Is that right?
I've never run with a run club. I've thought about it. When I was running a lot in the last 2 years, it's certainly crossed my mind that it would be nice to have, as you're looking for motivation, it would be nice to have a group that's going to be there consistently, just to get you out the door and get you on a time frame to run on a regular basis. So I think the idea of it's great. I just I'm not a committer. I can't commit to things.
I know. I love the idea of them, and I've been a part of some running clubs, but I think it is, and again, people's personalities are so different, so it all is very personality dependent. But yeah, like joining a running club's kind of hard, even though it's not like it's supposed to be so whatever. But it's like you don't know the pace, you don't know the distance, you don't know anyone. Like I know, and I was like a big part of a local running group for probably about a year or so, and even like every time I'm driving there, I'm just like, if I'm like a minute late, then I have to catch up with them and this and that, and like who's even gonna be there that I'm gonna want to run with. It's just there's so many things, but I know so many people who that is like how like that's their thing. And even like a lot of the people I coach, even um, like we specifically design when their easy days are so that they can run with their normal running groups because that's what they like to do. Those are their friends. They do their running group and then they end at a bar so they can go get drinks. And, um, there's a lot to be said about the running group social scene outside of just having motivation to run. Um,
Yeah, I
but
think.
yeah, it's apparently the
So I
thing in
think.
Hong Kong now.
Yeah, so I think that's a Hong Kong thing. I mean, I think if you're looking for like-minded people, right, to someone who's athletic, likes outdoors, I mean, I can't. Is there a better option? I mean, maybe you can go to the local gym and try to meet people, but I don't know. That feels like it's a good idea as a way to meet people. It's not. Is it a dating scene? Are they talking about, or are they talking about just meeting people, friends?
It was both. So they like went through a couple different running clubs of like, because there's like women only running clubs and then fast people running clubs. But yeah, I think they were talking in both senses of like finding friends, getting fit with other people, and or
Finding
dating
a
instead of going
life
to the
partner.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah,
But also, I mean, it's a great way to get information. Again, you can probably get a lot of misinformation at a running group because everyone wants to be an expert. But um, it's a great way to get some advice on like injuries, who to talk to because you have this injury. Like, do you have a PT that you like? Is there a coach that you like? How do I kind of add more workouts? Like, I do think there's lots of valuable information to be shared also. as being part of a running group. That's all I got.
Yeah, I got
And
nothing
we're
else,
running
man.
out
That
of
was
time.
good.
Yeah. All right. Well, come back next week. We will have hopefully some new, more interesting stories, maybe new records to chat about. And for now, enjoy your run.